Have you ever wished you could read someone's mind? Not like a superhero in movies, but truly feel what they're thinking, fearing, or wanting. If you've ever had that wish, welcome to the world of psychology tricks, hidden tools in everyday life that can transform you from ordinary into someone deeply perceptive. Imagine this. You're in a job interview or a client negotiation. The room is silent. You don't know what to say next. Then you realize you don't have to say much. Just by observing and applying the right psychology trick, the situation shifts in your favor. No force, no pressure, just deeper understanding of the human brain. It may sound like magic, but it's science. It's psychology and part of self-improvement, where you learn to understand not only yourself, but also others. After 20 years of study in the U.S., I can confidently say most people think they decide rationally, but the truth is most decisions, from buying shoes, choosing a job, to falling in love, are influenced by subtle psychology tricks we don't even notice. A close friend of mine, a veteran salesman, once said, "I never sold products, I sold emotions." And that is the core of many psychology tricks you'll soon learn. They don't just exist in ad, sales, or politics. They exist in small, everyday moments. When you text someone back because their silence bothers you, when you help a friend out of guilt, when you buy something unnecessary just because it's almost sold out. Think back. How many times have you done something and later asked, "Why did I agree to that?" Maybe you paid double because a clerk smiled and said you're lucky it's the last one. Or followed advice from someone you thought had authority just because they wore a white coat. Or sat silently in class and chose the same option as the group, even though you thought differently. All of these situations come from basic psychology tricks. And the amazing part is, when you understand them, you can avoid being manipulated and also influence others with subtlety, humanity, and responsibility. This is a crucial part of self-improvement, mastering emotions, communicating wisely, and influencing without imposing. In this video, I'll share with you 10 of the most powerful psychology tricks. Half are classic secrets used for centuries by leaders, politicians, and influencers. The other half are lessons I've distilled from over 20 years of research, teaching, and observing thousands of real-life situations, from casual talks to major business deals. Before we start, I want you to see this not as a tips and tricks video, but as a conversation. Picture this. You and I sitting in a cafe late at night, sipping hot coffee, and I'm sharing stories I've witnessed. People using silence to tense up a room, brands using scarcity to triple sales, or friends unknowingly manipulating each other with just a guilt-triggering phrase. I'm not sharing this to turn you into a manipulator. I'm sharing so you can become more aware, stronger, and wiser, because trust me, once you step into the world of psychology tricks, you'll never see people or yourself the same way again. You know, among all the psychology tricks I've studied and practiced, there's one that seems simple, but its power surprised me the most. It's called the revenge trap. Imagine telling a child, "Don't touch that button." What happens? Exactly. They immediately want to touch it. Adults are no different. When forbidden, the ego rises and pushes us to do the opposite. Once I tried this with a friend. Instead of asking for help, I said, "Nah, this might be too hard. You probably can't do it." He instantly jumped up. "I'll prove I can." I didn't force, I didn't beg, yet the task was completed. That's the beauty of the revenge trap. You awaken pride, ego, and let people rush into doing exactly what you wanted. But remember, use it responsibly. Otherwise, you risk becoming a manipulator instead of an inspirer. Another powerful psychology trick is master of choice. We often think we're making our own decisions, but the truth? We only choose among the options placed in front of us. Example, you want your friend to hang out. If you ask directly, want to go out? Likely answer, too lazy today. But if you ask, Pizza Hut or Domino's? You've set the game. Whichever they pick, they're going with you. They feel in control, but in truth, you're the one steering. Politicians, marketers, and big brands use this trick. Ever seen ads like, buy one get one free or buy two get 50% off? That's master of choice. Consumers think they picked wisely, but end up buying more. And on your self-improvement journey, understanding this helps you not only use it, but also protect yourself from being steered. Now to a third trick, which I believe all of us have experienced, sometimes as victims, sometimes as users. The guilty trap. Have you ever felt guilty when someone said, if I were important to you, you'd make time? Sounds familiar, right? It's one of the strongest psychology tricks, hitting the deepest emotion, guilt. I remember a student of mine sharing, she had a friend who always promised to hang out but was always busy. One day, instead of blaming, she softly said, I understand. If I were important, you would have made time. That line stunned her friend into silence. Then he apologized and set a meeting the next day. See? No force, just an emotional mirror, and they responded themselves. Interestingly, modern psychology shows guilt can spark stronger reactions than fear. When you feel you've hurt someone, your brain urges you to fix it to restore self-image. But again, use it kindly. Don't turn the guilty trap into a weapon to hurt others. See it as a way to build genuine connections, making others feel valued. So there you have it. The first three tricks: revenge trap, master of choice, and guilty. Trap, proof that humans aren't as simple as we think. Decisions, choices, even emotions we believe are free, often are just responses to invisible strings in our minds. And you know what's amazing? Once you step into this world, you'll start seeing life through entirely new lenses. Each time you see an ad, a phrase, a silent stare, you'll ask, is this a psychology trick? Am I being led? And that question alone is already a big step forward on your self-improvement journey. Now let's dive deeper into one of the most dangerous yet most common psychology tricks in everyday life: emotional hijack. Have you noticed we often don't decide with logic? We like to believe we're smart, analytical, rational, but in crucial moments, emotions take the wheel. Have you ever bought something because it just felt right, only to regret it later? Or voted for a politician because they made you feel proud and inspired, not because of numbers or data? That's emotional hijack. When emotions surge, fear, love, anger, or guilt, reason temporarily shuts off. Neuroscience shows that in emotional highs, the brain shifts from the rational cortex to the limbic system, the emotion center, to make snap decisions. And those decisions usually favor whoever triggered the feeling. Imagine a politician who skips GDP charts and unemployment stats. Instead, they tell a story about a struggling family, look you in the eyes and say, we deserve a better future for our children. See? That's not logic. It's emotion. In that moment, your heart convinces your brain, I should trust this person. If you want to level up on your self-improvement journey, remember, whoever controls emotion controls decisions. Next, a psychology trick I've personally fallen for many times: the power of silence. Ever had this moment? You make a small mistake. Your mom scolds you loudly. It's annoying, then it passes. But when you face your father, he says nothing, just looks at you. And suddenly you feel 10 times more guilty. That's the power of silence. In conversation, many think speaking more and louder shows strength. In reality, silence is the sharpest weapon. When you go quiet, the other person fills the gap with thoughts, worries, uncertainty. That's when truth slips out. and they even start doubting their own stance. I've seen this used in boardrooms and everyday debates. Once I just held eye contact with a colleague. No rebuttal, no defense. Within seconds, he repeated his point, voice weakening. Then corrected himself. I did nothing, just stayed silent. See? Sometimes silence is louder than a shout. Understanding this reshapes how you communicate, argue, and connect. Now, remember one of the most common psychology tricks marketers have used for decades: scarcity effect. Ever seen ads like "only 2 left" or "offer ends in 24 hours"? Your heart races, hands warm, and you click buy. Why? Our brains treat scarcity as a signal of value. The rarer, the dearer. A famous study had 2 groups taste cookies. Group A got a full jar. Group B got only a few. Result? Group B rated them tastier, even though they were identical. Why? The mind autolinks scarce with high quality. This doesn't just happen in shopping. In love, someone hard to reach seems more attractive. At work, a rare opportunity makes you trade more. That invisible driver is the scarcity effect. On your self-improvement path, understanding this trick keeps you from last-minute flash sale traps. Instead, you'll create authentic scarcity by limiting your time or raising your standards. When you're not always available, your value rises in others' eyes. These 3, emotional hijack, power of silence, and scarcity effect, are like sharp knives. They can slice cake or cut skin. It's all in how you use them. I don't encourage manipulation, but on your self-improvement journey, recognizing and mastering these psychology tricks will make you stronger and safer in a world saturated with influence. One evening, I had dinner with a new group of friends. During the conversation, I noticed the guy next to me unconsciously mirroring my movements. I took a sip of water. Seconds later, he did too. I leaned back. He followed. Strangely, I felt more comfortable with him than with anyone else at the table. That's the mirror technique, a highly effective psychology trick in communication. We naturally like those who seem like us. And by mirroring gestures, tone, or rhythm, you make others feel understood and in sync. In sales, dating, and even tense conversations, mirroring can dissolve invisible barriers. If you're on a self-improvement journey, practice mirroring subtly. Don't mimic, resonate. You'll be surprised how quickly people open up. Now, another tactic: authority bias. Have you ever trusted advice just because the person wore a white lab coat, or agreed with an online expert simply for the PhD label? We're wired to obey those who look authoritative. That's why brands hire doctors, celebrities, or CEOs for ads. Our brain equates authority with safety and correctness. In the famous Milgram experiment, participants delivered electric shocks to others simply because a researcher in a lab coat told them to. Terrifying, but true. In self-improvement, this psychology trick helps you 2 ways. First, leverage authority, title, expertise, professional image to increase your influence. Second, stay alert when others try to manipulate you with mere appearances. Now let's talk about a tactic common in business and negotiation: anchoring effect. Imagine selling a car. If you start at $30,000, then drop to $25,000, buyers see a deal. But if you open at $25,000, they compare to $20,000 cars and think it's pricey. That first figure becomes the anchor in their mind. I've seen this again and again in stores. A 100 shirt reduced to $59. Buyers think they saved $41, but maybe at S only worth $40. Anchoring isn't to just marketing, it shows up in relationships too. Set high standards for respect and treatment from the start, and people will anchor to them. On your self-improvement path, remember, you have the right to set the anchor for how others perceive you. Do it intentionally. Finally, we have social proof. Have you ever picked a restaurant just because it was crowded, without knowing if the food was good? Or liked a video because it had millions of views? That's social proof. We're social creatures. In uncertainty, we look to the crowd. A student once told me about her first yoga class. She didn't know what to do. Seeing everyone raise their hands, she immediately followed, even with a stiff body. That's the instinct to find safety in numbers. In business, social proof explains why brands showcase 5-star ratings, customer feedback, and sales numbers. In life, it's why you feel I should keep up or I'll be left behind. On the self-improvement journey, awareness of this effect helps you choose the right crowd. Surround yourself with positive, disciplined people and you'll rise. Surrounded by bad habits, you'll struggle to escape. These 4, mirror technique, authority bias, anchoring effect, social proof, are like undercurrents, quiet, unshowy, but they reshape how you communicate, negotiate, and are perceived. Combined with the previous 7, you now hold a psychological map, not to manipulate, but to understand how people truly work. That's a solid foundation for anyone on self-improvement. Understand others, understand yourself, and influence consciously. We've reached the end of a journey through 10 psychology tricks, from subtle traps like revenge trap, guilty trap, to quiet forces like anchoring effect and social proof. And what do you notice? The world has never run on logic alone. It runs on emotion, unconscious habits, and tiny nudges we rarely notice. I know when you hear dark psychology, many think of manipulation and dirty tricks. But the truth is, these techniques aren't evil. They're tools. A knife can slice bread to feed a family or hurt someone. Power lies with the person holding it, not the blade. So here's my message. Use this knowledge for your own self-improvement. Learn to spot when someone is trying to manipulate you, so you can stand firm and stay clear. Also use these tools to connect deeper, communicate smarter, and become a stronger, more humane version of yourself. Ask yourself, next time you see a flash ad saying, "Only one left," how will you react? When someone stays silent, will you let that silence unsettle you? And when the crowd runs after a trend, will you follow or pause and think? By simply asking those questions, you've stepped into a new level of self-mastery. That's what true self-improvement aims for, not controlling others, but controlling yourself in a world full of influence. I'll be honest, after more than 20 years of research and teaching, I've learned this: those who understand human psychology have an advantage, but those who use that insight with the right heart are the truly great. If this video gave you a new perspective, if it made you rethink how people make decisions, let me know by hitting like, leaving a comment, or sharing it with a friend you care about. And if you want more psychology tricks and practical tips for your self-improvement journey, subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. Free gift links and info about books and courses are in the description below. Because trust me, once you start viewing the world through this lens, you'll never see people or yourself the same way again.